9T65 pump stator. Got a shuttle valve that goes in here. This valve, spring, end plug, and a retainer. This valve, spring, it's not going to fit, so let's find us something else. Okay, and our retainer is going to go in there, so let me find something to fit this. Okay, 250 thousandths steel ball, spring, and our pin. Let's see here. Okay, this valve, spring, retainer, yep, that didn't work. Okay, 375 thousandths balls, steel, barrel shaped spring, and our retainer. This one's going to be really stout, so may have to go take this somewhere and secure it. Okay, we have sleeve with the valve. It goes all the way in the back. Let's see, get something to push this back there. this valve, spring, end plug, retainer, plastic washer goes in here, seal that goes on the pump. There's a snap ring underneath here. You need to take this shaft out. Really no need unless this bearing's blown up, and if it's blown up you're going to be replacing the whole thing anyway. 374 thousandths ball here. This plate is recommended that you replace it every time because it's got a silicone bead here. I don't see why you couldn't scrape this off, file it, and put your own sealant on there and reuse it. The plate goes on there like so. Okay, we'll be back with the next section. Okay, on the pump, we have the longer pin goes over here, and it's not longer by much, it's like 2 thousandths. And it comes out really tight. This one was stuck in here. This one here was stuck in the other part, the stator part. Since I ain't building this, I really don't care about anything here. And the dot faces up, and over here dot faces up on the rotor. Our vanes go in. This plate goes on with this slot right here facing over here. This gasket goes on with this tab sitting over here. There's 2 little tabs that line up this gasket. Pump goes on just like so. .30 torques on these bolts. I don't know the torque specs yet. I haven't had a chance to look them up. So, since this is core, I don't care. Alright, shiny side faces down, dark side faces up. I don't think there was a colored link on here, so I don't think the chain matters which direction it goes. The gear here goes with the slot up. Short end of the taper up on our snap ring. cover goes on. Okay. Outer belt housing. I got our washer that goes on here. Our seal that goes in here. Did forget that we will have to put our filter on. Alright, filter seal goes in, then the filter goes in, and this little tab's gonna sit right there. And it's just making a mess everywhere, so I'm not putting a filter in. Alright, see if I can get this in there without dropping it again. And my chain popped off. Put a little grease on that and see if it'll keep it up in there. Okay. E12 Torx bolts for on here. Okay, looks like I'm missing one. Okay. these 10mm bolts that have silicone on them. I'm wondering if they don't come in the kit, because they do recommend that you replace these as well. If not, I would say put some silicone, good grade silicone underneath each bolt. The next part and we'll continue on. Okay, on the, see, this is the 5/7 reverse. There's a D-shaped O-ring that goes there, a D-shaped O-ring that goes there, and a D-shaped O-ring that goes here. We have cushion plate, steels and clutches, the pressure plate goes with the recess up and the taper up, short end of the taper up on our snap ring. We have our return spring, this end faces down. Battery died, so our return spring goes with that side in. Our piston, the little tab has to sit right here. Don't want to push it down so far that we break that off. Our short end of our taper up on our snap ring, opening is going to be there. We have a D-shaped ring that goes right down here. We have a D-shaped ring that goes in right there. A D-shaped ring that goes in right there. Our return spring on top. Our balance piston on top of that. Our snap ring, short end of the taper up. We're going to put it away from the notches here. Over in here. Let me get that in there and I'll be back. Okay, we have an O-ring on our shaft. We have bearing on here, hub. Our shaft goes in, snap ring, short end of the taper up. Bearing on top. Our clutches and steels. Down in the case, we have an O-ring here, our filter, O-ring here. three 10 millimeters that hold that in. We have an accumulator. Apparently these are getting really worn because this came out really stiff, goes in that hole. I had a heck of a time getting that thing out of there. And spring, washer, short end of the taper up. In there just like that. Down in the bottom of the case, we're going to lube this up. We have a piston that has a bleed hole in it. The bleed hole is going to go up to 12 o'clock. Bevel plate is going to go with the dish down. This is the first design. I recommend that you replace this with the second design. And it goes down here. You're supposed to check your case for wear down there. And let's see where this was. I believe this was down here about the 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock position on the opening. I'm not going to fight this too much. If it doesn't want to go, I'm not going to fight it. I just don't have the time. So after that goes in, then our apply plate goes down on top. This bearing goes sitting in there just like so. Our drum goes on top. So I need to get a picture. Cushion plate goes in, and it looks like the big opening goes up here. This little tab going right down in there. Let me get my sun shell. Alright, the shell goes down. This bearing sits on top. Okay, I forgot to finish putting these clutches in. pressure plate goes with this side up. Let's see here how that was in there. Thought I'd marked it, but I guess I hadn't. Alright, there we go. So the two close together tabs down here. On this piston here, we have a D-shape O-ring that goes on the inside here, one that goes on the outside here. We have a molded piston that goes on the outside, and this has to line up a certain way. And I was wrong about the other one. It's this one that you need to be concerned with. This is the first design. You're supposed to update it to the second design, and it'll have, instead of this down here, it'll have a tab. That tab is going to line up in there. Alright, let me figure out how this was sitting in there. The snap ring that goes in here. On the bottom, and I'm not going to try to force that in there. And we have the Bevel plate that goes on top of up here, and this snap ring is going to go on there. That holds that all in there. Okay, we got our sun shell, or whatever you would call this thing. Hub of some sort. Our sun gear, that's going to face down. We've got a steel on the bottom. We've got one-sided clutches starting with an inside teeth, face down, and alternate all the way up. Clutches go on the outside of that. Start with the steel. cushion plate on top. This piston would be up inside of here, and that would ride on that bearing right there. Now, I did take this Planetary apart. I have a friend of mine that said that he's had a few of these apart. They haven't built one yet. But there's brass washers up in here, and it's easy to take apart. And he said the brass washers have been coming apart, and he's had several of them that this Planetary is blown up. So it might be wise to take this apart, change those brass washers out for some metal ones, and get rid of that problem. I guess I ought to turn this around the right direction. There we go. Now we have this bearing, this bearing, this Planetary. You can take these apart. I don't think that there's probably much use. ID mark up. Bearing. This bearing on the back of this Planet. And I've seen a deal that said that this bearing here is blowing up because it's put in upside down at the factory. So I guess pay attention to that and see if it's upside down. I think by the time it gets to you, it'd probably be blown up. D-shaped ring on the inside here. D-shaped ring on the outside. Bevel plate. I'm not going to try to put this thing in there because it was a super pain on the last one I tried, the 8F40. I just don't have the time. The snap ring is going to go in here. You have your cushion plate, steels, clutch, steel, and a clutch. Pressure plate goes with the recess up. Here it really doesn't matter too much, but always put the short end of the taper up. Okay, our sprag assembly is going to rotate counterclockwise, lock clockwise. When you air apply it, then it's going to lock both directions. There is an O-ring on this cap if you want to change it. If it comes in the kit, that little deal's got to go into the deal here. And 4mm Allens. Okay. Bevel snap ring on top. Bevel up. Opening over at the 3 o'clock. Rubber seal. Oil scoop. Seals. The spring is going to hook up underneath here, and then this end's going to sit right there. Actually, I guess we need to put our chain in first. Our shell on before we go any further. And then we got this bearing is on top. Oil dam, 2 8mm holding that in. Okay, now our sprockets, the blue link of the chain facing up. Sun gear for our diff, a bearing for our diff. Washer, bearing, gasket. And our oil slinger for this side that I forgot. There's 2 8mm that hold that on also. Alright, where did I put the bolts for that? Alright, I gotta find the bolts, but they're 8mm like that. I'm gonna put the case half on, 13mm for that, and then we'll try to go to the valve body side. Alright, 1, 2, 4, 6 of these 1/4-inch balls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and separator plate. Let's see. Where are they at? One goes here. One goes here, little plastic hold downs. On this side, we have accumulator and spring. And these are really worn. Accumulator and spring. Quarter-inch ball. Quarter-inch ball. Separator plate. Plate. Bolt. 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 8 millimeters. I'll hold that in. And this one goes up here. Alright, let's get the next section. Okay, I'm going to redo that other one off camera because I'm running out of time. We have 2 accumulators, the same as the others. One goes there, one goes here. Wiring harness. This little 8 millimeter. Comes that in. Yep, I'm in the wrong spot. Or am I upside down? I think I'm upside down. Okay, here we go. That goes in that way. The longest bolts go on the outside here. The middle bolts go everywhere except for the shortest bolts go here, here, and down here. Okay, plug your connectors in, push your red tabs over, and I don't think we're going to have time to get the valve body onto the tranny. So if it's still here when I get back, we'll do that then. Okay, they show 5 check balls in here. Mine only had 4. They're showing another check ball over here. Mine doesn't even have a spot for it. So I assume it doesn't take it. Plastic hold downs for here and here. Make sure our manual valve's lined up. We've got 4 bolts that are the same. One that's shorter. Short one going up here. Here again, don't care about the torque. Since it's going to the junkyard. We have our detent. We need to make sure it is inside the neutral switch there. Our little tab can go in this hole right here. connector up here. Plug in our speed sensor. Move our tab over. Plug in our neutral switch. Move the tab over. I believe we're ready for the pan. Rubber gasket in the pan. And 10 millimeters with the studs go across the top. Eight millimeters go everywhere else. I'll tighten all this down and we'll do the start-stop motor next. There are two O-rings that go on here. Seal this in the case. And that one just split in half. Towards the other seal, there's a rubber seal that goes on here. Okay. Our motor goes onto here. $13 millimeters that hold this in. And we are finished with this unit.